What's going on, guys? My name is Cynic, and it's come to my attention that a lot of people are still struggling on the Beast from Beyond Easter egg, and I can't blame you. This Easter egg is not necessarily hard, but it is hectic, it is crazy, and it can definitely be very overwhelming if you don't know what you're doing and if you're not well prepared for it. So today what I'm going to be doing is providing you guys with a full-on in-depth guide for completing the Easter egg. However, I do want you guys to know that this is mainly designed for solo players or solo attempts. However, if you have a second, third, or even a fourth player to play with, that's cool. The guide is still going to work perfectly fine. The only real difference is all of you guys are going to have to wait a couple extra rounds to make sure everyone's prepped up for this step right here. And during the boss fight, you all are going to have to communicate a whole lot better. Communication is key during the boss fight itself. Now, one more thing before we jump straight into it, I'm going to have timestamps in the description because this is going to be a long guide. So if some of you know exactly what to do, like how to get the Entangler, how to get the alien fuses and shit like that, then just use a timestamp, skip ahead, and that's no biggie. But anyways, let's get started. These are actually the cards that I was running during my solo attempt. Now, I don't really think there's any reason to explain Perk and Shirt or reanimate it, but Explosive Touch, Second Wind, and Hide and Seek I think are very much important for a solo attempt. And during the step where every card becomes useful, I will pop it up on the screen and talk about exactly its uses and why I found it was useful during that particular step. So I'm showing this part in Director's Cut because I forgot to record it last time. But basically, as soon as you spawn in, what you want to do is work on getting Neil's head. You want to pick up all the Pack-a-Punch pieces that you come across, and you also want to find the first skull for the Entangler. There's a total of 3 locations. They do change from game to game. My skull this game was above the Blue Bolt's door. The second location is in the room where Bomb Stoppers is, just up there on the beam. You'll notice it. You can't see it in my game because I already had my location down, and if the power box is in one location, you're not going to be able to see where the other 2 locations are. The third location, however, is inside the cargo bay. You can actually see it from where the button is. It's just hanging out right there on the beam. So as soon as you get that skull, you have power turned on, and you pick up those 2 Pack-a-Punch pieces where Blue Bolts is and inside the cargo bay. And I'd also recommend that you pick up the alien fuses right now. That way you can save yourself a trip and save yourself time. But now you're good to work on the Entangler. There's a total of 4 X's inside the cargo bay room. The X's won't pop up until you get that first skull. I'm showing all 4 locations, which is kind of weird that all 4 popped up for me. Normally inside solo you only get 1 location, but these are the 4 spots. Now if you're playing solo, you only have to stand on 1 X. Obviously, if you're playing up to 4 people, then everyone has to stand on an X at the same time. Once everyone is on an X, a skull will spawn in the middle of the room in between these containers, and around each character there's now going to be a small circle. The circle is just big enough to hold your character inside, and basically the point of the step is you have to defend yourself from zombies for a full 60 seconds. Now if you don't feel too confident in defending yourself for a full 60 seconds, then I recommend using Explosive Touch, as it makes this step a breeze. However, if you do end up using it, I recommend you refill your cards as soon as you can, because you're going to need Explosive Touch for another step later on. Also, something to keep note of, if you fail the Entangler, then you're going to have to wait a round and do it again. So you really have to make sure that you don't get pushed out of that circle, which is extremely easy. I almost got pushed out right there. So just pace yourself, keep an eye out on anything around you, you'll be perfectly fine. If you're playing co-op, keep an eye out for your teammates. Make sure no one gets overrun, and make sure no one gets pushed out of that circle, because again, you're gonna have to restart this at the beginning of the next round. Now once that 60 seconds is up, you're gonna have to chase down wherever the skull ran inside of this room, and you're gonna have to jump on top of it. Now you're given just the right amount of time to run from the spot that you're in to go jump on it. If you fail and the skull disappears, you're gonna have to restart the Entangler with the X's. But anyways, once you have the Entangler, you're good to move on to the next step. Now this is a multi-step process, and I would not recommend going past this round. Stay on this round, work on the alien fuses, work on getting the zombies in Spaceland film, and work on getting all the floppy disks together. If you obviously don't have enough points to open up the rest of the map, then burn through the rest of the rounds, but it's ideal to get all of these things out of the way as quickly as possible. Now I'm not going to be showing how to power up the alien fuses. I feel like double Pack-a-Punching is something that should be left out for this guide, because the next step that I want to show you guys is the floppy disk step, and I want to be as precise and as in-depth on this step as I possibly can. So essentially what the floppy disk step is, there's 4 floppy disks around the map, and you have to put these 4 disks in order inside of Neil in order to hack him. So the first floppy disk you're ever going to come across, and that's automatically able to be picked up, is after you get all 3 Pack-a-Punch pieces to build a bridge. You build the bridge, and then you come back here, and this is the first floppy disk. This spot never moves. Regardless of what any game you play, this disc will always be here. I didn't show it that well, but it's basically at the foot of that pillar. So just walk up to the pillar, you'll notice it there, that never moves. The second disc is dropped by the first phantom of your game. Now, a good trick to get a phantom as quickly as possible is just to go inside a Pack-a-Punch and leave, which is basically what I did here. Sometimes you get 3 regular cryptids, but more often than not, you'll get a blue phantom. What I like to do is bring the blue phantom closer to spawn, kill him around Neil, and that way you don't have to go too far to pick up the floppy disk that this cryptid or phantom drops. So that's the second floppy disk. The third floppy disk is over here by the Proteus wall buy. If you walk up to this grate, you'll notice that there's kind of a reddish room here, and it's kind of hard to see, but in the middle of this hallway, the floppy disk is on the floor. So you need the Entangler to get this disk. The game does give you a little bit of a hard time to get the Entangler through the grate, but if you're shooting at the disk for a couple seconds, the Entangler will finally pick it up. It'll bring it closer to the grate, and now at this point, what you have to do is shoot the floppy disk and try to get it so that way the vent sucks it up. If you fail, no worries. The physics are pretty messed up, so no matter what, the floppy disk will end up back in its original spot. So just keep trying until finally the vent sucks it up. I ended up doing it on my first try, which surprised the hell out of me. So I showed you guys a couple times exactly what it was I was doing. But anyways, once the disk gets sucked up into the vent, the next step you have to do is now literally go around the entire map trying to figure out where the hell the floppy disk was sent. It comes out of any vent where zombies spawn. So I've had it spawn inside of the spawn room right next to the magic wheel. I've had it spawn inside of the room where the ERAD is as a wall buy, and I've had it spawn inside of every vent inside of the room where you entangle the floppy disk to begin with. Now I did notice that if someone's working on this step and they manage to get the floppy disk sucked up into the vent, if you're walking around the map and you notice a vent randomly shoot out air from it, that's the vent that the floppy disk comes out of. I did notice that. That's kind of a cool dead giveaway. So if anyone's walking around and they notice a vent just randomly shoot air, that's really the floppy disk that just came out. But anyways, for the fourth and final floppy disk, what you're gonna have to do is entangle a space helmet inside of spawn, and you're gonna want to walk it all the way from where you picked it up all the way to the med bay where the cryptid is lying dead on the table. You want to walk up to the force field and shoot the helmet at that green monitor. The force field will go down and the floppy disk is just right there on the desk. Go ahead and pick it up. That's all 4 floppy disks for your game. Now the next step is figuring out what order you have to put them in. So now the catch is there's 4 locations around the map where there's paper scraps showing every possible symbol you can get on your floppy disks. So the first paper location is right here. If you just climb up the ladder inside of spawn, it's right here on the ground. The second location is also inside of spawn, kind of in this doorway, just right here on the wall. I've missed this location so many times. The third location is where the ERAD is a wall bite or right next to the freezer trap, just right here on the counter. And the fourth location, there's actually 2 pieces of paper here. If you go inside the room where bomb stoppers is and you go up these stairs, it's just right here on the terminal. There's these 2 papers. So now that you know what your floppy disk symbols are and you know where all the locations for the papers are, this is the trick you use to figure out exactly what your paper scrap is inside the game you are in and what order you got to place them in inside of Neil. So to use the paper on the terminal right here as an example. So there's 6 symbols on this piece of paper. Now what you have to do to figure out what paper scrap you are using is you have to take your 4 floppy disk symbols, which I put here on the corners of your screen, and figure out if all 4 of your symbols are on this piece of paper. So based off of this, my vent symbol is here, my cryptid symbol is here, my medbay symbol is here, but my Pack-a-Punch symbol is not here. So this is not the piece of paper that we're going based off of. Remember, we need all 4 of our floppy disk symbol on one piece of paper, and that piece of paper is the one that we're going based off of. So I showed an example of what the wrong piece of paper would be. In this case, it would be every single piece of paper but this one. For me in this game, I had the wall symbols as my vent symbol, my Pack-a-Punch symbol, my cryptid symbol, and my medbay symbol were all on this piece of paper. Now what you got to do is figure out what order to put these inside of Neil, and you got to use the wall symbols as your guide. So for me, I had to use my Pack-a-Punch symbol first as it's at the top, then I had to use the vent symbol as that was second, third I have to use the X as it's second to last, and then finally the 4th floppy disk I had to put inside of Neil was my medbay symbol, as that's the order it was on the wall. So super easy, super straightforward. As soon as you figure out exactly where all the locations are and how this step works, trust me, you guys won't have a problem with this. This step is extremely easy, super simple to understand. Again, you just got to find your symbols and then find the piece of paper or guide that has all 4 of your floppy disk symbols, and then based off of that scrap, you put your floppy disks in order inside of Neil. Now once you have all of your floppy disks inside of Neil, he does this weird face like someone stuck a finger in his butt. Ignore that. Now the next step you got to do is head over to the theater and make your way into the hallway where the Bigfoot and Brute cutout is. Behind the Brute cutout, there's going to be a button on the wall. What you have to do now is entangle that button and take it over to where the arcade is, and you want to shoot it inside of either of the Beast from Beyond posters. There's going to be 2. It doesn't matter which one you shoot it into, just make sure that the button gets teleported. Sometimes if you do it incorrectly, the button will kind of burn up in ashes. If that's the case, no problem, just go entangle it again and try again. But once the button teleports, you want to take this teleporter by dewdrops, head back to this med bay, and the button will now teleport underneath this desk. You want to hold square on it, and now you're on the Neil puzzle step. Now the puzzle is actually much more intimidating than what it really is. It's really simple, but to kind of give you an example, whenever you turn any of these valves here, you're actually moving more than one. So the trick here is to get all of these valves facing one direction, whether if they're all facing vertical or horizontal, it really doesn't matter. But the trick here, in order to pass this successfully, is to take a screenshot of the puzzle, and now that screenshot is your guide to successfully and very easily passing this puzzle. So based off of this screenshot, you can see the top 2 and the bottom 2 on the left side are vertical, and on the right side, the 2 middle rows are vertical. So let's say I wanted everything to be horizontal, so I would change the top 2 on the left, the bottom 2 on the left, and the 2 middle rows on the right. And if done correctly, every valve would now be facing the same direction. If you don't get this step, no worries. Very, very simple. Just take a new screenshot and start from that step. Once you get the puzzle finally finished, you can now go entangle Neil's head. Now, a couple things to know. As soon as you entangle Neil's head and pull him out of the computer, every door in the map will shut. It doesn't matter. The doors will shut, so it's nice if you're playing with more than one person to communicate and say, hey, give me a second. Let me leave the room before you pull Neil's head, because then you're without a teammate, and now you have to entangle Neil's head by yourself. Also, as you noticed, if you drop Neil's head, a nuke will automatically go off. You actually have 2 tries to pick Neil's head up before you have to do the puzzle again. This is actually a step where explosive touch becomes very handy if you're playing solo, as if you're playing solo, you can basically carry his head all the way from the computer to Pack-a-Punch without ever being touched by a zombie. So it makes the step extremely easy if you're playing solo. Also, if you're playing co-op, have your teammates kill these zombies. They're harder to kill than normal zombies, and this is a perfect time for everyone to milk points for as much as they possibly can. Also, one big question is, how do you know what path you're taking? There's really no rhyme or reason. Just communicate on what doors are open, because you have to carry Neil's head from the computer all the way to Pack-a-Punch, and sometimes he won't open the doors. It doesn't seem like there's any type of rhyme or reason to what path to take. You know, just communicate, be on point, be aware of what doors are open, and just try to help each other out. If you're playing solo, like I said, just explosive touch. That's a godsend. Now, in this game right here, I failed a number of times, but I got lucky as I was against ninjas, and obviously if you don't run, ninjas don't teleport in front of you. Somehow Neil ended up opening the door, and I was clear to go. So when you have all the doors open and your path is clear to go inside Pack-a-Punch, just teleport. And everyone says place Neil's head very gently inside the computer, but you don't. Like, I always just shoot it in his direction. He understands what the hell to do. I trust him. I've never fucked up on the step. You just don't have to take your sweet ass time. If you want to, go ahead, but I'm saying that you don't really have to. But there you guys go. That's the build up. Now you're ready for the boss fight, or at least I recommend you get prepped for the boss fight. Now at this point in time, I recommend you guys activate your perk insured, because if you guys end up activating that inside of the boss fight, you're basically setting yourself back, because you have to refill your meter all over again. So activate your perk insured now. Then as soon as you can, go ahead and activate your reanimated as well. If you guys followed my card step, you're just going to be left with second wind and hide and seek, unless you refilled your card deck, in which case you should have explosive touch again. But anyways, very briefly, I want to mention the type of weapons you guys should take. Top notch, you cannot go wrong. The candles above all else. A strong second would be the sentinel. If you guys can't get the sentinel, then the butchers would be a solid third. Now, people have also spoken very highly of the FHR 40 and VPR. Personally, I'm not a fan of the FHR, and I feel like the VPR, you're gonna constantly be having to buy ammunition. But if that's not a problem for you, feel free to give these weapons a chance. I know a lot of people that vouch for them up and down, but if you guys are playing solo or even co-op, try to aim for the candles. They are perfect for the weaker cryptids, as within a couple of shots, anything around you will die. So they are just lifesavers. They're so amazing, and the sentinel's just powerful and solid on ammunition. So if you're playing solo, try to aim for these two. If you're playing co-op, at the very least, have 2 people with candles. It's ideal to have 3 to 4, but if you can't, at least 2 people, and try to have everyone, or at least the people that don't have candles, try to have them aim for sentinels as well. But anyways, when everyone's fully set on weapons, what you guys have to do now is go back to the Pack-a-Punch portal, teleport, and everyone playing with you has to hold square on kneel. But after everyone does that, you're all going to be teleported inside of the boss fight. From the start, you can all take turns refilling your ammunition. There's going to be an unlimited ammo crate inside of the cargo container, and you guys can all just refill ammunition right now. But basically the way this step goes is there's going to be a railgun above you, and it's going to be opening up these containers. Each container that it opens is going to be releasing a rhino. These rhinos are tough to kill, but as you guys can see, the Sentinel is perfect for shutting these things down within a matter of seconds. And there's a total of 4 rhinos you need to kill before you move on to the next step. Now, a misconception that I want to squash right now is everyone believes that the next cargo containers are not opened until the rhino that is alive finally dies. That's not true. You're on a timer. If you don't kill these rhinos quick enough, then you'll be dealing with up to 3 and maybe even 4 rhinos altogether. So just try to kill each rhino as quickly as possible. But once all 4 rhinos are killed, you're now on the next step. The last 2 cargo containers that were open that once were holding rhinos are now basically doors to the other side of the map. You're going to see portals all along the walls, and during this step, these portals are going to open and just cryptids are going to be spawning. Normal cryptids, and that's it. I'm showing terminals right now because that is for another step, so just bear that in mind. But right now, you just got to survive a wave of a handful of cryptids. This step right here is perfect for the Kendalls, and this is actually, I think, the only step where the Venom Z is really helpful. Just shoot around the portal openings and the cryptids will immediately die. But if not, this is perfect for the Kendalls. Just pace yourself. Don't worry. If you're playing with more than 4 people, just communicate and stay on the move. There's no problem at all. But once you're done with this portal, the other side of the map is now going to open up, and over there's a whole nother wall full of portals, and again, you're going to be having to deal with cryptids, but now you're also going to be dealing with phantoms. Just base yourself. Don't panic. Again, this boss fight is all about communication, and it's all about staying on the move and keeping your head straight and keeping your head together. So right now, just kill everything. If you pass this step, the portals will shut off similar to the last step where the other portals shut off. You'll have a moment to breathe, a moment to relax, a moment to refill your ammunition, because you have one final step, which is the combination of the last 2 portals. Now you're going to be dealing with cryptids, phantoms, and rhinos. Also, something to keep in mind, the railgun above you is also going to be tracking you. It's easy to avoid. However, if you get shot by it, you're instantly red screened. So just keep an eye on that and don't stay in one spot. Now, you got to survive this for about 10 to 15 seconds, then those terminals I showed you will turn on. And regardless of what every other guide has said, that is incorrect. Regardless of how many players you are, there's always going to be 3 terminals. If you're playing solo, you have plenty of time to shut down all 3 terminals. If you're playing co-op, one guy has to shut down the 2 terminals, and the other, preferably the guy that's holding candles, take care of this terminal that's by itself. Also, they don't have to be turned off at the exact same time. They just have to be turned off within rapid succession of each other. I'd say within the first 5 seconds of shutting off the first terminal. So just again, communication is key, and just stay on the move. Those are the 2 biggest form of advice I can give you guys. But once all the portals are turned off and everything that was still remaining is killed, there's going to be sentry turrets around the map. I recommend you guys set those up, buy more ammunition if need be, and make sure you have your important fate and fortune cards ready, because now you're on the 99-second step, which is the hardest step in the entire fight. So right now you'll see the railgun blast open that container, and now you'll see this terminal open up, and you'll see a countdown starting from 99 seconds. Now, depending on whether if you're playing solo or playing with more people determines what method I recommend you use. If you're playing solo, utilize the entire map. There's a reason why I keep camping up on this ramp, because nothing spawns behind you. Just sit back there, and if you're using the Sentinel like I am, look at everything dies, everything is demolished. Just take your time. Whenever you have to reload, I recommend you kind of train, just turn around, drop down, reload, make a giant circle, then come back to the spot. The key is to not get cornered. If you're playing co-op, this is the time where everyone communicates, everyone says who's doing what. And also, if you're playing with more than one person, I suggest one person has eyes on the terminal at all times, or at least is fairly close to it, because the last thing you want to do is literally all get down when that 99-second timer hits 0. If you're playing co-op too, another nice method is to make sure everyone brings hide and seek, survive for the first 10 to 12 seconds, and then pop hide and seek, and everyone take turns popping hide and seek, and then you guys have nothing to worry about, and you can take your time activating that terminal. Or if you have someone that doesn't have hide and seek, bring Death's Party, which is basically an insta-kill, and that seems to take up a good majority of the time as well. That does not affect the rhinos, but it still makes everything a whole lot easier. Now, if you're playing solo, I recommend you bringing hide and seek specifically so that way you can hit that terminal without being bothered, without having to worry about going down. Explosive Touch surprisingly also have up kill cryptids in this solo attempt. Just like I said, rhinos are an exception, and I'm not too sure if insta-kill works on phantoms. But this is by far the hardest step. If you're on solo, utilize the entire map. If you're co-op, communicate. Just communicate. Now, as soon as you hit that terminal, everything will immediately die, regardless of what. So even the rhinos will instantly die, and the entire map will power down. I recommend you take advantage of this and refill ammunition on everything you have. If you can, also set up some sentry guns, because they do come in handy. Anyways, after hitting that last terminal, you're now on the last step of the boss fight, which is killing these two special blue rhinos. They have a shit ton of health. Take your time and you will complete this. It is not that hard. Now, just to keep you guys aware of their attacks, they do have a charging attack, which will immediately red screen you, keeping you one hit away from going down. So keep your distance, make sure they don't charge at you. They have a slam attack, which doesn't seem to do too much damage. And then they have another attack, which is quote unquote them bleeding around the map. As you can see, there's permanent blue flames on the map, and they stay there until both rhinos die. Now, I do believe that the flames do about the equivalent of 1 zombie hit to you per second. So if you stand inside the flames for longer than 3 seconds, you're immediately going to go down. So just avoid the flames. They're actually very surprisingly easy to navigate once you notice that there's actually around the edges, they're kind of curved versus squared. So you can navigate blue flames fairly easily, so long as you don't panic that there's rhinos behind you. Also keep in mind, throughout the duration of the fight, there will occasionally be portals open. Only on this side though. The other side doesn't seem to open up. I believe you get about 1 to 2 phantoms and a handful of cryptids, but that's it. As soon as you kill everything, the portals are shut down for another couple minutes, and you're good to handle the rhinos. Now, as far as cards go, unfortunately in this step, if you're rolling solo and you're going with the cards that I gave you, then you're kind of just relying on good weapons at this point. But if you're playing co-op, twice the pain is key. Twice the pain is amazing on the blue rhinos, as well as any additional hide and seek would also help. Oh, raining bullets also come in handy. So between you and your teammates, if you guys are rolling in a group of 4, hide and seek, twice the pain, and raining bullets will be helpful for everyone to run with during this boss fight. Now obviously if you're playing solo, you don't have an option in this, but if you're playing co-op or if you have 4 players, I recommend you guys separate the rhinos. That way each rhino is constantly taking roughly the same amount of damage, or at least someone is always shooting at one rhino. But really and truly guys, the hardest step is the 99-second step. On this step right here, just keep your head on straight, keep the rhinos at a distance, navigate the blue flames very cautiously, and you will get it. There's no need to panic. But anyways, as soon as you kill both blue rhinos, the cutscene activates and you completed the Easter egg. Congratulations guys. Probably one of the easier Easter eggs, as far, kind of straightforward. I wouldn't say easy, but simple if you understand what you're doing. But anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you guys have any questions, problems, concerns, issues with any given step? Is nothing still unclear? Let me know in the comment section. But anyways, my name is Cynic. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope this helped you guys out. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you guys are brand new to the channel. And until next time guys, I'll see you all later.
Done it! My goodness, you've finally done it!
Yeah, we've done it all right, but we just got one more thing to do.
Unhand me this instant! Give me a moment to explain! Don't you understand what has taken place?
Shut up! We sick of you, your lies, and all this voodoo bullshit.
It's time for a taste of your own medicine, you sick bastard.
You have no idea the magnitude of what you're dealing with! You must listen, or all hope will be lost!
You know what to do, Poindexter.
I beg of you, listen for a mere moment!
Zombies in Spaceland, now starring Willard Wyler.
Please, no! You'll only make matters worse than they already appear to be. Countless souls are at stake. We must work together. Ah!
Is this nightmare over? Are we finally free?
I don't care to find out. Let's just get the hell out of this place while we can.
It won't budge!
What in the hell won't it open?
What in the hell is going on, man?
Oh no. What have we done?
Come on, help! Somebody help!
You have served thy master well. Your death was merely the beginning.